Hey guys, Zom Fox here, and today we have some insanely huge news coming from not the XFL or the USFL, but the AFL, the Arena Football League. After shutting down in 2019, the league is going to be coming back in 2024, next year. This is a huge deal, and I'm going to talk about why. So without further ado, the first thing I'm going to just go over is the quick article from CBSSports.com by Brian Diardo. And then I'm going to go into the actual specifics of this, what it means, and all that kind of stuff. So as you can see here, the league is going to have 16 teams in its comeback season. So on the same day that Tom Brady announced his retirement, a formerly debunked football league announced its return. The Arena Football League, which closed in 2019 after filing for bankruptcy, announced its return Michael Jordan style by mimicking the NBA's legends. Two-word press release after returning in 95, we're back. With a new ownership group in tow, the AFL plans to make its return in 2024. The comeback season will have 16 teams that play a 10-game regular season during the summer. The AFL is slated to join the USFL and XFL as professional football leagues that will play outside the NFL calendar. So I'll get into that schedule in a second. The league has yet to announce which cities will have teams in the league resume play next year. The last teams they had were in Albany, Atlantic City, Baltimore, Columbus, Philly, Washington, and DC. So the AFL's inaugural season was in 86 and it ran until 09, but then it had a season get canceled, but then it came back and lasted until 2019. It never got as popular as the NFL, but had a respectable following and popularity during its first incarnation. Naturally, the big name of the Iowa Barnstormers, Kurt Warner, the guy who ended up winning multiple MVPs, got to multiple Super Bowls, is a Hall of Famer, mainly for the Rams and Cardinals. The AFL is a high-octane type league. It's an up-tempo, high-scoring, as it's played in a 50-yard field. It's half the size of a typical field. Warner, who lit it up during his 99 season, credited the AFL for helping him adjust to the speed of the NFL when he became the Rams' starting quarterback. So, yes, these are huge things to note, that yes, these are happening. But the only thing to note is exactly what do all these things really mean, naturally. So, I guess the easiest way to say what everything means is just go back to the last couple Arena Football League seasons. So, by the way, I couldn't really find any TV ratings because I don't think a lot of these games are on national TV and stuff like that. I found like one which I'll get to in a second. But in terms of the season being in the summer, it looks like they're going to try and avoid the XFL and USFL. They're probably going to intertwine the USFL a bit. But maybe, that seems like how it's going to be, as usually their playoffs did in fact end in late July, which is something that naturally could affect, meaning if they end in late July or early August, they would be intertwining multiple weeks of the USFL season. I imagine they're probably going to end up starting in late June or July this time around, but we'll see for sure. So the 2018 season, the second to last season the league naturally existed, the average attendance for their teams was only about 7,600 per game. In fact, the Albany Empire had the most at 9,700, and then the Soul were second with 9,400. Now, that's not the biggest of attendances, naturally, and as for the 2019 incarnation, the averages for them were really about the same. They had a two-team expansion, but the Albany Empire did reach over 10K, but there was no other team that had 9. In fact, there was only 2 teams total at 8,000 per game. So, naturally, the overall attendance wasn't really the best for either league, especially since the USFL did average, when Birmingham was playing, a bit over 10,000 if all the numbers are to be believed, and the playoffs averaged about 15. So, the fact that these guys couldn't really do that shows that they didn't have the most highest of attendance. And the other thing to note about this as well is the overall impact it has on TV ratings. So as for the TV ratings, the only thing I could find was from the 2019 Arena Bowl. I'm not even sure this is the 2019 Arena Bowl. The 2019 Arena Bowl averaged only 240,000 viewers on ESPN2. This was down from the last few times that they were on a Nielsen-rated network. Even at their peak during the last few years was 2016, when they had 413,000 viewers. Note that is not just a pretty low number overall. That is, to put it in perspective, that is lower than some of the games that were on the like bad networks, like USA FS1 for the USFL last year, and get completely dwarfed by just the semifinals. These semifinal games for the USFL had over double the viewership on any of those years that's listed on that site. And the championship game triples to almost like 7 times, pending which one you use. So the USFL viewership just completely outclasses it. And it does kind of make sense, especially as the fact that it's just the league lasted a long time, but it was never a huge league. There's a reason they had to keep changing teams. The 2019 Arena Bowl also only had 12,000 fans in attendance for that game. So their last Arena Bowl also had less fans than the USFL's title game. To put it simply, it's just that the Arena Football League has always been a league everyone knows about, but it is mainly a very cult fan type of league. The attendance, if you go check on Wikipedia, you can find that they never had a league attendance above 13,000 in any season they existed. That's bad. So, the USFL and the XFL are going to have those advantages. Due to the fact that they are a normal pro football league, not in the sense of, that the Arena Football League is football, but not really, just like the CFL, how, it is football, but not really because of the different rules. The fact is that the main thing this is going to do is have more and more players have to be on rosters. Having 16 teams rather than 8 means there's going to be a lot of players that are going to be on teams. Though the only counter to that as well is the fact that there's a lot fewer instances of Arena Bowl players going to the NFL. Fact is it truly is its own game in a sense. So I think that that's going to overall not have... What I mean by that is I think that the players that are closer to being NFL caliber players are still probably going to be more amped to go into the USFL or XFL. Especially with the Arena Football League season probably being even later than the USFL season, means that it's going to be even harder for them to transition directly from the AFL to the NFL. I think that's overall the biggest advantage that both of the other leagues have, is that their time span allows more time to rest for players to get to the NFL. But it still is a big deal because you do have another league coming. Now, I know it's not huge. You also have the Indoor Football League. Don't forget about that one. Which, granted, it's more of a very regional type of thing. But you're continuing to have football leagues to where we're now going to have 4 more major ones all happening around the same time. Now, yes, you do only have 2 true normal football in the USFL and XFL. But it's just that idea that you have a ton of leagues coming up at the same time. The FCF, the fan-controlled football. You have all these football leagues coming, but the USFL and XFL still does have the advantages over all of them. I think that overall with the Arena Football League, it's definitely one where you look at it and you have to think about, can the league itself also sustain? It's, at least as of now, we don't know what networks it'll be on. We don't know if it's just going to be regional. We don't know what the deal is yet. So that's another thing. And it's not like it has a huge group as the other ones. Their F1 sports and entertainment group they have is one that, like, they're literally just made a Twitter account, like, because of this announcement. Versus, having Fox back you, or having, a company that owns, like, a soccer team back you, like the XFL does. So I think that the biggest thing to take from this announcement is that there are going to be more players going into separate football leagues. Now, I do think that this is going to have a lesser impact than it would be if it was another, type of normal pro football league. Like, let's say, for instance, the AAF just all of a sudden said, we're coming back in 2024. I think that would have a much higher impact than this. But it just is another football league to come in a very short time span. Overall, that's pretty much it from this. Let me know what you guys think about the AFL coming back in 2024 in the comments. Subscribe and hit the bell to be notified as soon as I upload any videos. And as always, have a great night.